Oh, hi, Kim Raynor here from All About Spirits Life After Cancer. Ooh, mosquitoes and buggy. Welcome to episode 38 of All About Spirits Life After Cancer. And today's episode is called Showing Up When You Really Want to Say, I Quit. And, sorry about all the wiggles. There's lots of mosquitoes out here today. So today's episode came about because I have been in the place where I know I need to show up and I want to say I quit. And I have been in that place shortly after my cancer while I was going through my treatment. And I get in that place sometimes today too. And I have to figure out how I'm going to show up when I'm in that spot. So today's episode is dedicated to the people who are in that place, that are stuck in that place, that say, ugh, I don't like what's going on and I don't want to do this. I don't want to show up anymore. I want to curl up. I want to stay in bed. I want to hide under my blankets. So if that's where you are, today's episode is dedicated to you. And, when we get a cancer diagnosis, it impacts every aspect of our lives. And I talk about this every week. It affects our work. It affects our relationships. It affects our spirituality. It affects everything. And I created All About Spirit and Life After Cancer, this show in particular, because I was looking for a kind of support that I had not previously been able to find. I wanted something that was, we talked about our problems, we talked about what was going on for us, but we also had the opportunity to move beyond that and to find other things that were working for us, and we could move into healing from some of that stuff. So each week I do this show at 10 o'clock Central Time, and I spend anywhere from, 8 to 20 minutes talking about a particular topic. So again, episode 38, today's topic, showing up when you really want to say, I quit. So how do I do that? What does that look like? Well, for me, the first thing that I have to do is I really have to acknowledge where I am. If I am in that spot where I want to say I quit, it needs to be okay for me to say that. And how do I do that? Well, the first thing is just to own it inside myself, to really say, okay, I don't like what's happening here, and I have to acknowledge that. So that's the first thing, is to really acknowledge it. And sometimes acknowledging it is the hardest part of taking this journey. They say the first step is the hardest when you're on a journey or starting a new journey, and acknowledging I don't like what's going on and I don't want to do this anymore might be the toughest thing for you. The next thing that I needed to do was really identify what this or it is. Is it that I don't want to go to work anymore? Is it that I don't want to do my cancer treatment anymore? Is it that I don't want to participate in these relationships like this anymore? Is it that I don't want to participate in society the way it is anymore? So really identifying what is the what that I'm talking about. What is it? What is it that I don't want to participate in? What is it that I don't want to do? And sometimes when we're first starting out in this process, that what it is feels like it's everything, because we're trying to avoid it. Our natural tendency is to try and escape those feelings of uncomfortableness. So everything gets lumped into that what it is. So identifying, what is it that we're really talking about? What is it that you don't want to participate in? What is this? What is the this that I don't want to participate in? And then the next thing for me as I walk through that process is really giving myself permission and time to feel what it is that I'm feeling. To really say, you know what, it's okay that for the next 20 minutes I spend the time saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to acknowledge this. I don't want to like this. I don't want to participate in this. And there's something about giving myself that permission, because so often we feel like it's not okay for me to be dissatisfied. It's not okay for me to be hurt. It's not okay for me. I should always be bouncing around thinking that everything is wonderful and everything is great, and I should just suck it up and deal with it and be okay with whatever it is that's happening. And that's not the truth. It's okay for us to feel to feel the negative feelings, and it's necessary. Our tendency is to try and run away from those things. So really giving yourself permission to feel what you're feeling. And one of the ways that's really helpful for me and really powerful for me to do that is to write about it. I don't always like to journal, but sometimes sitting down and just writing out the things that I'm frustrated or angry or scared about is really helpful. And one of the ways that I do that seems to work really well for me is to write it in the form of a letter. And, sometimes I write it to my dad, who has been off the planet since 2005. And sometimes I write it to myself, or sometimes I write it to the person that I'm feeling frustrated or angry about, right? So writing about it is a way to get it on paper. It also is a way to give a paper trail that says, oh, okay, this is where I was, 4 hours ago, or 2 weeks ago, or 10 months ago, right? It gives you something to go back and reflect on at some point. And then the next thing I do in that process is to really inventory it. I take a look and say, okay, so if I'm feeling angry, or if I'm feeling resentful, or if I'm feeling fearful, why is it that I'm feeling that way? And then I identify, does this have something to do with me being selfish, or me being needy, or me wanting something that the other person isn't able or willing to give me? Is it something that I'm not accepting? And I inventory it, and I really look at it and say, well, where is this coming from? Where are these feelings coming from? And when I have that information, then I'm able to make a decision. I'm able to start rationally thinking about stuff. I'm able to start dealing with the issue at hand, and to really start to make some intelligent decisions. If what I'm dealing with is, let's say I don't like my job anymore. I'm done with my cancer treatment, and I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Well, when I look at my job and I say, okay, I don't like what I'm doing, it's not satisfying, or I feel like I'm wasting my time, which are things that happen for me, I can look at that and say, okay, well, where do I want to spend my time? Where do I want to put my energy? What do I want to do with this? So really inventorying it, and that'll give me some indication and some ideas on how I might be able to navigate through the process, how I might be able to deal with it. And a lot of times, I can't figure that stuff out on my own. So I also find the people who I can talk to about it. And there's some stuff, like if what I don't want to do anymore is be on the planet, well, I'm not going to talk to my family about that. I'm not going to talk to my children about that, right? So I find the people who have earned the right to hear it, and who are in a position to be able to help me with that process, to give me at least the space where I can talk about it and get it out loud. And, I choose that respectfully. I choose who I share the information with respectfully. And because a lot of the work that I do has to do with, the law of attraction. There is a way that I incorporate the law of attraction into this process. I really take a look at, okay, am I focused on what I want, or am I focused on what I don't want? Because one of the things that I know is, if I focus on whatever I focus on, that's what's going to get bigger in my life. So if I'm focusing on the things that I don't want, I need to find a way to shift that perspective to start focusing on things that I do want instead. So I really start to pay attention. And then I stop telling the story over and over and over again about how miserable I am, or about how dissatisfied I am. And I start looking at that story and saying, okay, if this is what I don't want, what do I want instead? How do I start paying attention to that? How do I start focusing on what I want instead? And then I consciously make the decision to shift my focus. I say, okay, every time I think about what I don't want, I am going to remind myself, oh yeah, what do I want instead? oh yeah, this is what I want. That's what I want. And I start talking about that. So if I don't want to be working at the job I'm working on, which is the example I gave at the start of this, right? Okay, so I could tell you all the things I'm dissatisfied about my job, or I could say, every time I think of it, I could say, oh, you know what? I'm grateful that I have a job. I'm grateful that I have a paycheck coming in. And I really like to work with people in a way that I feel like I'm making a difference for them. I really like connecting with people, or I really like working by myself where it's quiet, or I like working in my own space. So I start to identify the things I want instead, and I pay attention and I focus on that kind of stuff. And then the other thing is, if this goes on too long, I take it to a professional. I can't always figure this stuff out on my own. I can't always fix this stuff. I can't always figure it out on my own. And there's no shame or embarrassment or guilt in that. Sometimes we just need help from the outside world. So when I'm in that place that I don't want to do this anymore, when I'm in the place where I say, I want to quit. I quit. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. The steps that I follow is, I acknowledge where I am. I identify what the this is that I'm thinking about or talking about. I give myself time and permission to feel what it is that I'm feeling. I write about it. I inventory it to see, what's my part in this? How much of this am I responsible for? And then I talk to people who have earned the right to hear it. And then I stop telling the dreaded story over and over again. And in the process of stopping telling that story, the dreaded story over and over again, I consciously shift my focus from what I don't want to start paying attention to what I do want. And I start naming the things that I do want instead. And then if it goes on too long, like I said, I will go and talk to a professional. And if you need help with any of that process, we can't always do that ourselves. You can reach out to me if you have questions about what I mean by any of it. You can reach out to me for that as well. And I'm really grateful that you're here today. And if you feel like you don't want to do it anymore, I get it. I've been there. And just acknowledging that sometimes is enough to say, all right, I just need to be able to get it out and to say that out loud. And that sometimes is enough of an energy release to be able to shift into a different space. So I'm really grateful that you're here today. I'm glad that you joined me, and I hope that you make it a great day. Thanks for being here.